Is that a set of focused? Is that web email where it's divided into focused and non-focused?
This conference will now be recorded.
Are we ready?
Not quite. Eric's getting set up. Okay.
The social media platforms are up and running. Once Eric's ready to go.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for it to come through. I do not see it. Because all I got was the 2 meeting notice, or excuse me, the 2
The agenda stuff.
to the
I'm not sure we have that. Eric, if you want, you could speak in front of the smart board and that would take care of it. Okay. Sure.
All right, can everybody hear me? This is Eric Burns.
Yes.
Yes.
Can you hear me? Good. I'm seeing heads nod, so I'm going to go ahead and call the roll. Please signify present when I call your name. Jackson Hogan.
Present.
Larry Leverett.
Present.
Jerry Reynolds. Gary Schroeder.
Present.
Tom Murtaugh.
Present.
Greg Jones.
Present.
Kathy Parker.
Present.
Quorum present.
Did we say quorum present?
I did, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Quorum present.
All right. With that, we'll go to the approval of the minutes.
I move to approve the minutes from the February 3rd, 2021 meeting as submitted.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? That carries. There is no new business at this time, so we will head to the public hearing, where I know everybody looks forward to this. For those of you unfamiliar with our procedure, the commission would like you to know the following. When we hear a request to subdivide land, we are only concerned as to whether the actual drawing showing the division into lots meets the technical requirements of our ordinance. The question of appropriateness has already been determined. Anyone wishing to make comments or provide us with the information regarding any subdivision petitions will be given the opportunity to do so. We are a 7-member body and the majority of 7 is 4, regardless of how many commissioners are actually present. At least 4 in favor, 4 votes against are required for our action to be official. If fewer than 4 of us agree to either approve or disapprove an action, that case must be heard again next month. Our vote on a request to subdivide is final. When addressing the commission, please state your name and address for the record. Please limit your statements no more than 5 minutes. We ask that you not repeat what others before you have already said. Please keep your microphone on silent and cell phones muted while the meeting is in session until you need to speak. If you need to make a call, please step out of the room before using your phone. All exhibits presented to the commission become the property of the commission.
I move that there be incorporated into the public hearing portion of each application to be heard this evening and to become part of evidence at such hearing, the Unified Zoning Ordinance, Unified Subdivision Ordinance, Comprehensive Plan, the bylaws of the Area Plan Commission, the application and all documents filed therewith, the staff report and recommendations on the applications to be heard this evening, and responses from checkpoint agencies.
I second.
Kathy?
You want to vote on that, Jackson?
Where I am looking. I move Greg second. Kathy, do you have anything to present on this?
I don't think we've put the rural estate on the floor yet.
No.
So what, okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. My
Move to hear-
apologies.
No problem. I move to hear and vote on RE 0078, South Tippecanoe Rural Estate Subdivision, Rural Estate Preliminary Plat.
I second.
Okay, let's try this again. Kathy, you want to go ahead now? It's
Sure.
my first time.
Okay, petitioner's property is located here on the east side of County Road 200 East, just south of 700 South. The property is zoned RE, Rural Estate. It was rezoned last month by the county commissioners. Before that, it was zoned agricultural, as is all the surrounding land out there. Here's a look at the aerial photograph. You can see most of the land in the area is farmed or wooded, and there's large lot residential uses out there as well. Here's a closer look at the property. You can see it is definitely over 50% wooded, which is a requirement for an RE. And here's a look at the preliminary plat. This is a 12-lot rural estate, and then it also has 2 parcels down here that will also be accessing this private driveway, as well as these 2 lots that were part of Moulter for minor subdivision. The private drive does have a name. It's going to be Amy Lane, a name I heartily approve. That's my daughter's name. So there is a high water table out here, so there will be a drainage easement along Outlot A that all of the lots will be able to utilize, and then the drainage easement goes off in this direction along this property line here. There's not a whole lot to this other than that. There are 11 conditions of approval, all of them standard, and they do, petitioner has requested permission to bond. So that's something you'll need to know. There are 11 conditions, including the county drainage board approval is a requirement. And if required, an erosion and sediment control plan and a stormwater quality management plan. So other than that, we are recommending conditional primary approval.
Thank you, Kathy. Petitioner's representative wishing to speak on this?
Yes, good evening. My name's Bob Gross from RW Gross and Associates, 420 Columbia Street. Yeah, Kathy, we intentionally made that Amy Drive just for you.
Aw, thanks.
No. Anyway, yeah, but, you know, as always, the staff has got a thorough report here. The conditions are standard. We look forward to your approval and request that at this time. If you've got any questions, I'm here to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Gross. Do we have any questions from the commission members? We'll go ahead and give this a pause for 30 seconds.
Jackson?
Yeah.
We have adjacent property owners in the meeting room.
Oh, great.
They were here at the rezone, and their concern is drainage. So if they have questions, it might work to have Bob Gross give some general answers at this point.
Mr. Gross, are you comfortable with that?
Well, we really haven't started a formal drainage plan for this yet, but of course, you know, we'll meet with any requirements that the county drainage ordinance has. I guess, you know, at this time, that's about all I know to say.
Okay, Sally, let's give anybody an opportunity to address the commission if they'd like to speak, and then I can kind of clarify what our responsibility is here. Or if you'd like to, you're more than welcome to as well. I can. And then, but just to confirm, this still must go before drainage, and that is not in the hands of this body today. And so if this is a drainage issue, we would want to redirect them. Well, we'd love to hear from them, but we want to make sure that they know where they can discuss the drainage issues.
Okay. There is one thing that you have noted on here.
Sally, if we're getting a reverb, if we can have the individual step up and name and address for the record, please.
I'm off.
Richardson, 5796 State Road 28 East, Lafayette. It says on here there's a drainage easement on that plot. I think he was trying to point that out there. Could you point that out again, please, so I can see where exactly you were pointing to? Where's the drainage easement at? That's the lane. I'm talking about the drainage easement, what you pointed to earlier. I think I saw you.
That it's both ingress, egress, and drainage. And then this is solely a drainage easement here.
Drainage easement.
Yes.
Do you know that dumps out onto our property? You're fully aware of that?
Yeah, I'd be glad to answer that. And yes, that is the natural drainage pattern.
And is that, what about the natural drain in front of the woods? That's gonna go through lots 6, what's the one with the line right there? 3, next to 3 is
5,
above,
I think.
right
That's
above,
5.
That's 5. There'll be drainage that would go through lot 6 and 5, which would come around the west side of the woods. It actually follows the contour of the woods all the way down there. I've seen water knee deep through those 2 lots before. And that drains onto our property. That's not to mention the moisture that's in the woods. The woods is a wet woods. I mean, it is terribly wet. And you know, I see something back here on the back of this. If I may read, said petitioner has requested permission to bond in lieu of completing all the required public improvements prior to the submission of the final plot. I would disagree with that totally. I would say I'd see the plan before, because there's no way that that this can go without some sort of drainage to it.
I'd like to clarify here, sir. The drainage plans will have to be approved prior to the development beginning.
And Bob, do you have an idea of when a drainage plan might be submitted to the surveyor's office to be heard by the drainage board?
Probably in the next 6 months or so.
Okay, so Mr. Richardson, we can, if you want to leave your contact info with Sally, we can make sure that you're notified when this is going to be heard by the drainage board. Those are the first Wednesday of each month at 10 o'clock in this building. And then the plan will have been completely vetted at that point. And so we'll know exactly what drainage looks like. And, you know, obviously you'll be given an opportunity to discuss any concerns you might have in regard to drainage at that point.
I certainly will do this. Larry's explained this to me, and I understand what you guys are talking about tonight, and that's fine. I will take it up with Jim and so forth through his office. We're ramming through something here, folks, that I'm telling you, there will be some very unhappy people that will start making basements back there, putting hundreds of thousands of dollars into lots and houses that they will not drain. And what I'm trying to keep from happening is having water pumped over onto mine, because I'm plenty wet enough. I'm the one, my property is on the east side of this 40 acres here. My brother's property's on the north side of this 40 acres here. So we're on two different sides of it there. But this doggone hunt here, you know, as far as the water that's in that woods.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention, Mr. Richardson.
We're done.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak on this?
We have no comments on social media.
Okay. With that, Mr. Burns, if you,
Jackson,
yes.
there's a gentleman trying to talk through his mask. Oh, we'll wait just a minute for him to be able to speak.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay, he's all right.
Okay. Thank you, Sally. With that, Mr. Burns, if you would go ahead and call for the vote, please.
Please signify your vote by saying conditionally approve or deny. Jackson Bogan,
Conditionally approve.
Gary Schroeder,
Conditionally approve, and also approval for bonding if you're not going to take another vote for that.
and I believe that is part of the original vote. Thank you for that. Kathy Parker,
Conditionally approve.
Larry Leverance,
Conditionally approve.
Tom Murtaugh,
Conditionally approve.
Greg Jones.
Conditionally approve.
That is 6 conditionally approved, 0 for denial, and 1 absent.
Thank you very much. On to the approval of the March APC public hearing agenda.
Thank you.
I will do that. Do we need to submit ballots to Dawn? And I think
Yes.
I've submitted
Yes,
mine.
yes.
I've got 3 so far.
Yeah, I'm way off kilter here. So we have the email that we received from Diana Tuesday at 12:17. That's where the ballot is. Please make sure you get that to Don.
Is the bonding question on the ballot, Don?
Yes, it is.
Okay,
The bond is, and there are 2 separate bonding questions for that.
okay.
Well, so far I've got 5 responses for conditional approval. I'll leave it open till for the last person to fill out.
Thanks, Don. Now we'll move on.
Move that the following subdivision petition be placed on the March 17th, 2021 Area Plan Commission public hearing agenda at petitioner's request. Placement thereon being without reference to compliance or non-compliance with the subdivision ordinance. That's S 4979 Oak Ridge subdivision, section 2, and replats of lot 14 and 6,
Muted.
section 1, major preliminary.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Unmuted.
Aye.
All opposed? That carries.
I move that the following rezoning petition be placed on the March 17th, 2021 Area Plan Commission public hearing agenda. Z 2787 Concord Partners South LLC, Brian Walker, Sagamore Winds Plan Development, GB and I3 to PDRS.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? That carries. Approval of the March ABZA.
I move the following petition be placed on the March 24th, 2021 Area Board of Zoning Appeals Public Hearing Agenda. BZA 2051, Tippecanoe County Conservation Club, Incorporated.
I second.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? That carries. Determination of variances.
I move the following request for variance from Unified Zoning Ordinance are not requests for use variances prohibited from consideration by ordinance and statute. Case 2021-09, Kevin J. Osborne, 2021-10, Synthetic Methods Incorporated, 2021-11, Synthetic Methods Incorporated, 2021-12, Menards Incorporated, and 2021-13, DAHM number 54, LLC.
I second.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
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 All opposed? That carries.
I move that regarding case 2021-13, DAHM number 54, LLC, the sign ordinance be strictly adhered to.
I second.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? That carries. Review and approval of the February budget report.
Move we approve the February budget report as submitted.
I second.
Sally?
Yes, if you take a look at the expenditures this month column, you'll see $250 under travel costs and mileage. That represents mostly the fee to attend the virtual National Association of Regional Councils conference. In February, they have their policy conference, which gave us the beginning ideas of what Congress might do with the next transportation bill. And then the $259 under dues and subscriptions are our Urban Land Institute annual membership, along with our monthly go-to-meeting fee.
Excellent. Do we have any questions on the budget? Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor as presented? Aye.
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 Opposed? That carries. Any other business? None at this time. And my apologies for fumbling through this, but even Michael Jordan had a bad game every now and then. Gary, we'll go ahead and take that motion.
I move we adjourn.
Thank you, sir. So over to you, Mr. Leverins.
Thank you, Jackson. Eric, if you will let me know when you think it's appropriate to begin this meeting, we'll start.
We're scheduled for immediately following, Sally. All right, then I believe we are ready to proceed. Mr. Leverins.
Thank you. Everything running okay, Brian? You've got all your gadgets going there?
Yeah, social media is up and running.
Okay, very good. All right, I will call the March 3rd, 2021 meeting of the Ordinance Committee to order. First item of business is approval of minutes.
I move we approve the minutes from the December 2nd, 2020 meeting as submitted.
I second.
Any additions or corrections to those minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carried. We have on the agenda 4 proposed minor amendments from the February AO's meeting. Who's going to talk about that?
That would be me.
Wonderful, Kathy.
Okay, so we do have 4 items to discuss that came out of our February Administrative Officers meeting. And the first item to discuss is basement window wells. And this is basically what we're talking about. Currently, window wells can extend 2 feet into any setback, but if it's a 5-foot side yard setback, then it can only extend 1 foot. So, for example, this window well to the right would be a 1 foot, most likely. According to our administrative officers, Indiana Building Code requires 3-foot wide window wells for egress in case of fire. So, what we are proposing is adding this sentence to this section of the ordinance. So currently, a window well is considered a structural projection that may extend up to 2 feet into a minimum front, rear, or 6-foot side setback. This addition would be, however, window wells may extend up to a maximum of 4 feet into rear and front setbacks at the discretion of the administrative officer. So it's pretty straightforward. Are there any questions about this? I think what we'll do is discuss each one of these 4 items and hopefully get a motion for each one, if that makes sense.
It makes sense. And is that motion would be to send this on to full APC?
Correct.
Okay, very good. Any questions, comments from any member of the committee?
No, Kathy, I think that makes sense. And just from my understanding, prior to this, they were not allowed technically to extend into the setback?
2 feet. They could extend 2 feet. But building code requires a minimum of 3 feet for egress. So this is just putting our ordinance more in line with Indiana building code.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other comments?
And so, Mr. Bogan, this is Eric. To clarify, we're going to be adding the highlighted language to 4.5 small a. That's correct, Kathy?
Yes.
So if you don't have that in front of you, the language that's asked to be added by this amendment is, however, window wells may extend up to a maximum of 4 feet into rear and front setbacks at the discretion of the administrative officer. So that would be the motion.
Okay, do we want to take that motion one at a time? And we'll just...
I think so, Gary.
Okay. I move that we send this on to the full commission with our recommendation for approval for the window wells as read.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Eric, do we need a roll call on this?
Procedurally with video, it's important if you do a voice vote, which is okay, that you acknowledge on the record whether or not it was a unanimous vote. If it was not, then we have to go back and do a roll call. So a suggestion is go ahead and ask for a voice vote and then ask for the ayes and the nays. If there are any nays, then we'll call a division and get an actual voice vote.
Okay, thank you. So all those in favor of this motion of adding the one sentence signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. That appears to be a unanimous vote to send this on. Kathy, number 2.
Okay, number 2. This one's more complicated. Hopefully, do all of you remember the Century Real Estate GB rezone case that was heard last month on US 52 where the golf driving range used to be? Hopefully you all remember that case. So the issue there was it's an electrical contractor who wanted to locate there but needed a building of 7,200 square feet. But there's a footnote in our use table that limits building size in the A district to 5,000 square feet. That meant he had to rezone to GB instead of just getting a special exception for this use. So at the time, staff took this to AOs last month so we could discuss this. And we came up with a couple of options for how to change the ordinance to not eliminate that footnote, but modify it. So option A would be to change the limit for only SIC Group 17, which is construction special trade contractors. And what we would do is, well, first of all, I thought it was kind of ambiguous the way it was originally worded. It said the maximum gross floor area would be 5,000 square feet. Well, does that mean we add up all of the buildings, or that's just the largest building, or how exactly? I just thought that needed to be looked at a little bit closer. So what we've decided to do is permitted by special exception in AAA and AW zones on 5 acres or more, with the largest buildings, maximum gross floor area 5,000 square feet. However, SIC Group 17, construction special trade contractors, largest building, shall have a maximum gross floor area of 10,000 square feet. So that's one option for fixing this. Option B would be to change the limit for all businesses in the use table that have footnote 8 attached. And those are listed right here. SIC 15, building construction, general contractors. SIC 1611, asphalt or concrete paving. And then SIC 17, construction, specialty trade contractors. So, those are the two options we came up with at AOs. So then, to make it more complicated, I had a conversation this morning with Rabita Foley, who is the staff member who wrote the rezone staff report for this case. And I talked to Mike Wolf, the administrative officer, and we kind of came up with an option C, which I prefer over the other two. What I learned this morning is this electrical contractor, he's not a building contractor. The company does maintenance and installation of these windmills. Wind energy conversion systems. So naturally, the equipment that this company uses, and they have 4 employees on site, just 4, but the equipment they use, which includes cranes, huge cranes, naturally, they're going to need a much bigger building than just 5,000 square feet because of the equipment that he uses or they use. So what we thought was, well, maybe instead of increasing the size of the building in the footnote, we take it out of the footnote section, out of the use table entirely, and put it in chapter 4 where it could be varied. So, if somebody in the future needs a 12,000 square foot building, it's not in the use table, so they don't have to go through a rezoning. They would just get a variance from that standard in chapter 4. Does that make sense, what I'm saying? So option C would be to change the requirement slightly. 2 acres instead of a minimum of 5 acres. That's something else that Mike Wolf suggested this morning. The electrical contractor that's going in on US 52 is on 3.3 acres of land. So clearly 5 acres maybe is not necessary, and 2 acres is what we require for rural home occupations. So, so we suggested that change. Total gross floor area of 10,000 square feet, but take the standards out of the use table and put them into Chapter 4 so that in unusual circumstances such as this one, a property owner could file a variance and a special exception instead of a GB rezone. So I know that's hopefully clear as mud. Are there any questions?
Yeah, Kathy, Gary here. It does
Yeah.
make sense, and I think it's an excellent idea to put it in where they can vary that. We still have a public hearing, and if it's appropriate, we can move that along fairly quickly and not very expensively for that person. And maybe rezoning to something that we don't want to rezone to. So that's a good way to work through that. I think with Mike and you, I think it's a good solution.
And just
Larry,
to clarify,
could I ask a question?
Go right ahead, Sally.
So I didn't follow exactly, Kathy. Is the acreage changing?
Yeah, I mean, that's something that Mike and Roberta and I talked about this morning, and they suggested it. Since we're talking about putting it in Chapter 4, which is something that could be varied, I suppose we could leave it with a minimum of 5 acres, which is what it is currently, just knowing that someone could get a variance if needed.
And what did you propose?
Well, right here, I'm proposing 2 acres. But that's just in this option C that we came up with this morning.
Is that a minimum or a maximum?
It's a minimum. It's the same as a rural home occupation.
I'm not sure I have an opinion yet about that. The thing I probably do object to is that the largest building have a gross floor area of 10,000 because they could have a gazillion accessory buildings and end up with a 20 or 30,000 square feet, which is not what we intend in ag districts.
Actually, in this option C, I changed that. So here it's have a total maximum gross floor area of 10,000 square feet. So in this instance, we would be adding all those buildings together.
Okay. My other question is a contractor for wind turbines actually SIC 17?
Yeah, I looked at that too. Yeah, construction specialty trade contractor. Now, our SIC was written before we had wind turbines, or, you know, before they were common.
So did we look at the equivalency table in the NAICS?
No, I haven't.
I just feel like we may have gotten snookered.
Yeah.
Any other comments? I'm right now, if I can express my opinion, right now,
Yes.
I'm not comfortable. I'm comfortable, Kathy, with you working that through, and I think we're on the right track. But I'd really like to see it in writing.
Sure. You want me to take this back to AOs tomorrow and just rediscuss this and come up with a solution? Larry?
Committee members, what do you think?
Are you, Gary here, are you saying, Larry, that just go ahead and bring that back to ordinance committee next month unless there's a hurry to get this through where we can have it in written form?
Well, yeah, that's
Yeah.
the other question. That's the other question is how big a hurry are we on this?
There's no hurry on this.
Okay, then let's bring it back to ordinance next month, and see what you come up with. Will that
Okay.
work?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay.
And then let's look at parking standard.
Parking standards. This came from a BCA case. It was a special exception for industrial truck services or miscellaneous repair shops in the agricultural zone. No biggie. I think it was approved with no problem. But while reviewing the case, we realized that the required parking standard for this use seemed way excessive. So it's currently what's called parking group 8, which is 1 space per 200 square feet of gross floor area. That's the same as a grocery store or Walmart or Meijer. So because such a large area is needed to repair trucks or large farm equipment, that doesn't necessarily translate to needing a lot of customer parking. For example, furniture stores only require 1 space per 400 square feet. That's because furniture is naturally larger than items at a grocery store. So it just made sense to us to change that parking standard. And there is an existing parking group that would work. It's group 6. Group 6 would, well, it says 1 space per employee on the largest shift, plus 1 per 200 square feet of office, sales, or similar floor area. So we feel like this would be a better parking standard for this use than the same standard as a grocery store. So down below, we're showing farm machinery and equipment service and repair. That would get adjusted to group 6. And then industrial truck services, which includes big truck repair, would also get group 6.
Any comments on that?
Seems to make sense.
All right.
I agree.
Pretty straightforward. Could I get a motion to move that on to full APC?
I move that we move this on the full APC for approval with the positive recommendation for the proposed parking changes.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? That is a unanimous vote to move that one on also. And finally, storage containers. Yeah.
Yes, shipping containers. Oh, Dalen gave me a slide, so I have to use it here. There we go. I think everyone knows what shipping containers are and what they look like.
Let's see.
Okay. So the county administrative officer, Mike Wolf, brought this up for discussion, and evidently he's been getting a lot of phone calls. So this one is more urgent. Anyway, so the question is whether or not shipping containers can be utilized to store personal items and kept in yards. We also discussed the reuse of these shipping containers as residences. And there's one on South 4th Street right now in the city. It was decided that as long as the residential requirements found in the Indiana Building Code were being met, we would not limit this. So what we're talking about tonight is just using these shipping containers for storage, not as a residence. So it was agreed that maybe permitting 1 or 2 of these containers for storage on a farm would be acceptable. However, we really didn't want to see them in the backyards of a residential subdivision of any zone. We did not decide on anything definitively at AO's, but this morning, after again talking to Robita and Mike Wolf, I did come up with this proposal for what it's worth. So it would say a maximum of 2 accessory metal shipping containers used for permanent on-site storage shall be allowed per farming operation, and that's SIC 01 or 02, only if the farm is not located in a residential zone. And then it would go on to say these shipping containers may not be stacked on top of each other, shall meet all building setbacks for an accessory structure, shall not be permitted on a lot within a residential subdivision or parcelization in any zone. They shall only be permitted on a non-residentially zoned farm and are only allowed with an approved ILP. Then we would add metal shipping containers that are used for business or residential storage on a temporary basis shall be allowed on site for no more than 30 days. Metal shipping containers on property zoned I1, I2, or I3 are exempt. So, any comments or questions about that proposal?
Well, we already have the prohibition, Kathy, from using them at at stores in zone general business. So
Right.
I'm not sure that this helps that situation. I'm okay with the proposal until we get to the last paragraph.
Okay. Yeah, the main reason I threw that on there is because people do use these things called pods for storage. Now, I don't think they would keep them on their property for 30 days. I think it's more likely they would keep them on their property for a day or two, load it up, and then it gets shipped out or put in storage somewhere. So that was the main reason I tacked that on there. But we could eliminate business from that sentence.
Well, that would help.
I have another question, Kathy.
Yes.
So in number C, and maybe I'm just not getting it, I get the first part that says shall not be permitted on a lot within a residential subdivision. I totally understand that. What do you mean by or parcelization in any zone?
Yeah, I meant
I'm looking at my house and it's like, hey, I don't have this, but it was a parcelization. So I'm like, what are we going for here?
Yeah, it originally said shall not be permitted on a lot within a residential subdivision in any zone. So we do have some residential use subdivisions that are zoned agricultural, and I wanted to make sure that they would still not be permitted in that situation. Then another staff member suggested, well, what about parcelizations? So then I threw a parcel in there as well. So it's really only meant for farmers who actually, have crops or livestock. So if you have a 2-acre parcel that you created through parcelization, that's not a farm. Does that make sense?
Yep. I have another question because I don't know, I should probably know this, but what's ILP?
Oh, I'm sorry. That's an improvement location permit or a building permit.
So my question is, I know some people around me already have these, so how does that work?
Well, they'd probably be grandfathered in.
Gary here, if you're done, Vicky.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Vic, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Gary.
Kind of the same for me. I just noticed driving in the past couple days, someone along my road has just had one delivered, and it appears that they're a parcelization. And I would have to say it doesn't look bad the way they have it placed behind their. It looks better than their storage shed that they've put up. And I don't know. I might want some time to think about that. Maybe get some feedback. I wouldn't want one on anything smaller than 2 acres. Or in a residential zone. I agree, but if you're in the country and you got 2 acres, sometimes it's better than people storing things outside. So it does give them a place to maybe put mowers, whatever they have, without having to build a building, which is pretty expensive.
Okay.
And I'm not, once again, I'm not sure if you might tweak this and bring it back again next month in written form and give us some consideration on, because I don't really have a decision either, but it seems like some parcelizations, if you have 2 acres, you know, there's plenty of room on there to place that where it's not offensive. And like I said,
I agree, Gary, because I actually have a customer who placed one of these on a rural lot, and he's painted it, and the whole inside, it's like a furnished out pole barn in it. I mean, it looks really nice. And now I realize most people aren't going to do that, but thinking about what he did, it's like, wow, okay. So I agree with Gary. We might need to give some more thought to this.
Okay. So Gary, you're thinking make it a 2 acre minimum kind of thing?
In a non-residential zone. I mean, I think this rural estate that came through, I think that's too tight to plop these down on.
Right.
But somebody that really has 2 acres and they're taking care of 2 acres, and I've just seen them start to pop up, and at least the ones I've seen are not objectionable.
Okay.
Kathy, with the 30 days, where does, let's say if someone gets one of the pods, puts it in their driveway because they're remodeling their something in their house, okay?
Right.
And they need someplace to store furniture, the pool table, something, and they need it, that work isn't necessarily going to get done in 30 days. Where does that fall in this?
Well, we can definitely bump that up if you think that's necessary. We could say per, or at the administrative officer's discretion, so that he could look at it on a case-by-case basis.
The other option, Larry, is that the companies that provide those, like pods, they can be shipped back to their storage area rather than sitting in the person's driveway for 30 days.
Right. Yeah, I know that happens and can happen. I also know that there are some people that just leave them in their driveway too. So I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know
Well,
what
if we
to
don't
do
like
with it.
the way
I'm
that
not
looks,
sure either.
then maybe we would require in this instance that they can't be in the driveway that long.
I think I appreciate what we're all saying and that it can be shipped back, but I think it should be up to AO discretion, because depending on if you're doing something like Larry's suggesting, maybe there's stuff in there that you still need to be able to access while this is going on, that you wouldn't want it shipped and held somewhere else, depending on the situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I think there are some situations just from a visual standpoint where, it's not offensive necessarily to anyone to have it sitting there too. So I don't know. I like up to the AO's discretion as well.
Okay.
Makes me wonder what people did all these years until now.
I just had a question or perhaps comment. Very last sentence: metal shipping containers on properties owned I-2 through 1, 2, 3 are exempt from the entire restriction, exempt from the 30 days. I'd just ask you to clarify to make sure it's clear what's being exempted.
Yeah, I guess I was thinking exempt from requiring a permit, exempt from the 30 days.
So you might move it up to the bottom of that right after D, and then I think it makes it more clear.
Okay. Yep, I can do that. Especially we've got Wabash National, which, you know, we've got trucks and this sort of thing all over the place. So, okay.
Okay. All right. Any other comments? Kathy, thank you, and please thank the staff there, not your staff, but the staff there, and the AOs for catching these things. You know, as they go through, it's nice to clarify, and there's probably a million of those through that document. So yeah.
Right.
All right.
Yep.
So we'll see that one again. 2 of those go on. 2 of those we'll see next month as well. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Kathy. I'm gonna take liberty here. David, you've been sitting there very patiently and listening. Welcome to another riveting executive and ordinance committee meeting. Do you have any comments?
It's everything I could have hoped for. I'm very glad to be here. We do this kind of, in my previous job, we did this kind of business in conjunction with our plan commission meetings, usually at the end, usually after a long, drawn-out fight about this subdivision or that. So I think it's great that they're being heard and dealt with fresh ears and fresh eyes in a dedicated committee like this. This is a good thing.
Thank you. Well, welcome aboard, and look forward to working with you in the future.
Likewise. Thank you.
Ryan, any citizens' comments?
No, we've had none throughout the proceedings tonight.
Very good. With that, unless anyone has anything else, Gary, I will entertain a motion.
I'm thinking about it. Jackson?
Yeah,
Are you still there?
I just,
Do we
yeah, I
have
just like
some
to
other
talk a little
business? Okay.
No.
We'll move to adjourn, Mr. Schroeder.
Oh, we're going to move to adjourn?
Yes.
Okay, I move we adjourn, but don't hang up anybody, I guess.
Nope. We're gonna move to.
We're gonna move to adjourn.
Okay.
Have a good one, all.
All right,
Thanks, Larry.
we
Move
are
to
adjourned. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
This conference is no longer being recorded.